You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Did you know your hair ages just like your skin does? The new Chronologies line offers luxurious youth revitalizing care for aging hair. It reverses the 5 key signs of hair aging: lack of thickness and volume, dullness, dryness, and frizz in just one night. Use the full range of Chronologies shampoo, mask, and overnight serum and wake up to visibly fuller, smoother, healthier hair. Shop the new Chronologies line at Kerastase.com.
Grown-ups, if there's a child in your life who is interested in, curious about, or fascinated by people and places from history, then my podcast, The Past and the Curious, might just be a hit in your home. From the invention of microscopes to world-traveling dogs to fashions of the 1890s, gold rush ghost towns, and audiences going wild for walking competitions, we've got a little bit of it all. Hosted by children's author and museum educator Mick Sullivan, that's me, the show is fun, funny, engaging, honest, and beloved by kids and parents alike. Find The Past and the Curious at all the usual podcast places.
I know you will think this smells like a lie, but yet you shall have it.
I'm Jenny Williamson.
I'm Jen McMenemy.
I'm Liv Albert. I don't know why I have to say it like that.
Good job, you guys.
Look at us.
And what is this, y'all?
I think it's a crossover episode. I don't know. I feel like it was pretty obvious for everyone, so.
I'm getting that vibe.
And this is an ancient history, let's talk about myths, baby, fangirl, good time, fun explosion episode.
Spooky season episode. It's a crossover.
It's a crossover episode that is vaguely spooky, but mostly just weird.
Oh no, I tell a true horror story, but wait for it.
There's definitely a true horror going on in yours, Jen.
Yeah, Jenny and I both have wars, but they're wacky. We'll see how it all goes.
So today we are delving into the fabulous and unforgettable Lucian's A True History, known as the first science fiction novel ever written. This novella has everything: sexy trees, a trip to the moon, intergalactic war, an interlude inside a whale. It's incredible.
I mean, incredible, but in the, like, true sense of the word.
As in, not credible.
Utterly incredible. Yeah. Unbelievable in the true sense of the word.
My favorite thing about it is Lucian tells you from the beginning, he's like, excuse me, I just need to remind you that sometimes you need to take a little break for your own, like, essentially early mental health and maybe indulge in stories that are not true, but allow your brain respite. And I'm just like, Lucian, you would love monster smut. You would just love it.
Jen McMenemy has a monster smut problem. You heard it here first.
I'm Jen McMenemy and I have a problem.
How did we get there already?
Anyhow, let's talk about the history of this incredible document and give some context. And Liv, I know you've covered this in your podcast already, right?
To an extent, yeah. This is the first time I'm going to be, like, really chatting about him. Like, a couple years ago, I just did a whole straight reading of this, but it was just a straight reading. I remember I did it because I was, like, traveling, and so I had to prepare in advance. So this is gonna be the first time I actually, like, talk it out in a really. So I'm excited about that because it definitely requires being actually talked about.
You just read it and you're like, what did I just read? I need to talk to somebody about this.
It warrants a conversation.
It does. I also, this time, I've broken down, like, a lot of the words and trying to figure out, like, what he's talking about, because also I realized I should have provided, like, a more up-to-date translation, because sometimes I found a different translation. It will get to it, but it makes it seem even more fantastical, which is kind of fun in itself, but it's a bit of an adventure reading some of the, like, characters that he creates, or rather species.
I love the specieses. The specieses.
Species is plural for species.
I speak English.
I just like to make it more awkward. Jeez.
But yeah, no, I love his. We'll get there when we get to the intergalactic war section of the reading. But he definitely invents alien species that are kind of a cross between Greek myth and species of animals that already exist and really his own thing. It's really fun.
Yeah, there's a question you're going to ask me, I think, coming up, which I would love to talk more about that. So, like, I'm not looking at your questions now, but the last time I did. So we'll return to that.
Okay, well, let me ask you these questions, actually. So I have some questions for Liv, considering you know more about this document than we do because you have covered it before. Who was Lucian, and what do we know about why he wrote this novel?
Well, I mean, technically, like, I guess it's a novel.
Novella?
Well, no, but it's not, the point is that it's satire, right? Before anything else, it is like an incredible piece of satire. So what he is doing, like, you know, there's not that much to know about the guy himself. He's a 2nd century. He was writing in Greek. He was Syrian. And so, you know, he might not have been first language Greek, but he was very, very, very fluent in Greek. And he was like, you know, he was under the Roman Empire, but it had been Greek before, you know. So he's in a Greek world under the Roman Empire and working with all of this stuff. And so, yeah, it's meant very explicitly to be satirizing histories or other nonfiction works. Like, he wasn't writing it to be like, this is fiction, this is a novel. He was like, I'm making fun of Herodotus primarily and Ctesias, who I think you're going to be interested in as well, right? That's what he was doing, and that's what I think makes it like even more interesting, is that he wasn't just sitting down to write fiction. He was sitting down to be like, these guys are dumbasses and I'm going to make it really obvious to everyone.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull a whole lot of stuff out of my ass just like they do. It's kind of great.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's just like, he's basically treating it as if they pulled everything out of their asses so he can too.
And I mean, he compares them to like Homer's Odyssey, which we all have accepted that is not true, right? Like, he compares his storytelling to that, and he's like, yeah, well, we all know that like he was making up this great story. He wasn't telling the truth, unlike some people who claim that their histories are true, but like, you know, show me that Cyclops. I'm still waiting for proof.
That's the thing. He very much is, the whole thing is intended to be like, Homer is great because he wasn't trying to say everything was real. And historians like Herodotus are bullshit artists. And that will become even more obvious in the end. I had the behind the scenes of this is that I had forgotten like quite how much was in this book and split it up wrong in my head. But the part that I would love to get to when we get to the second half makes it so obvious like who he likes and who he dislikes in terms of ancient writers. It is a true joy.
I cannot wait. This is part 1. There will be a part 2. So when people say that this is the very first science fiction, I don't know, novel, call it what you will, piece of science fiction writing ever written, what do they mean?
So that's the question I was expecting you to still ask. Thank you. I have a lot of thoughts on this, both as somebody who has an English degree and as someone who is obsessed with the ancient world, and I guess also has a classics degree. But the English degree is what's relevant here, because this is by definition of science fiction, this is not early science fiction, but I think it is the closest thing, because like the defining science fiction requires there to be like an exploration of science, quite literally, right? It's why like the more appropriate genre for somebody, or for certain, like say David Mitchell, if you're familiar with him, like he is a speculative fiction author. So it's speculative fiction first. It's kind of like coming up with things that are beyond the realm of science. So it really isn't science fiction, like the real true. And also to call it that as a kind of official for science fiction negates the fact that Mary Shelley is the one who wrote the actual for science fiction in Frankenstein. But that doesn't take away from like how weird and interesting Lucian is. It's just that he wasn't talking about science. Because he felt like he was making up utter nonsense, satirizing quote unquote historians, you know, it had this very different purpose. So it technically isn't science fiction, but boy does it seem like it. And it is certainly, I think, the earliest story we have that basically purports like space travel, you know, and that's why it gets that name as science fiction. It doesn't technically, but like, wow, it's so close, and that's cool.
Yeah, you can see why people think that.
Yeah, exactly. And I like to have the sort of the separation between the two, but not, you know, making one any less interesting.
Yeah, it has a very, like, obviously there's nods to the Odyssey, but also like a very Gulliver's Travel, like kind of fake travelogue journey story. And to me, that always reads as early fantasy as opposed to science fiction. As someone who spent 12 years of her professional life, more, I still work in science fiction and fantasy. I'm like, it's not really science fiction.
Well, and even, like, it is definitely closer to fantasy, you're quite right. But even more, like, it's only closer to fantasy if you come at it as, like, reading it kind of as fiction. And, like, it is fiction, obviously. But the thing is that takes it and sort of, you know, removes it also from even the fantasy category is that the reason it reads like it does is because he is explicitly satirizing Herodotus and also Thucydides at times and Ctesias. So he is so am I saying Ctesias right, by the way? I like bullshitted that from my memory.
I think I said it like Ctesias.
Okay, but that is how it's spelled, right? It's like CT. Okay, great.
It's a Ctesias, so that is, we 100% pronounced it wrong in our episode on this.
Right, in Greek that would be Ctesias. So
it's okay, you know what, this is a drunken crossover. We can say what we can pronounce things wrong all day.
Well, no, that's fine. I just didn't even have it in front of me, and I went based on memory, and then I was like, what if I'm wrong? And I'm saying it again. So I'm going to just repeat that. But so yeah, what he's doing so explicitly is intentionally writing it like those historians. And that's what makes it, I think, not even fantasy, because he was like, oh, Herodotus tells his stories like this. He traveled all around. He did all this. So he's like, well, I will tell my stories like this. He traveled all around. He did all this. So it really takes it away, and it just grounds it so deeply in like, no, this guy was just like satirizing other people. But then us reading it now, like, unless you just read Herodotus' histories like yesterday, you're not going to see that. You're just going to see this like wild and wacky guy who wrote this absolutely bonkers story.
And again, that's why I really see the parallels with Gulliver's Travels, because it's Swift was also like a humorist, a satirist at the same time too.
Yeah, 100%. It's so Gulliver's Travels.
Isn't he the one who had like the Irish solution, which was eat babies, which is obviously a satirical?
I don't know.
I think that the author that this reminds me of the most, I wrote a whole thing about it. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I just needed to get my thoughts out. But like, it's just this whole conversation that we just had about how Lucian is making fun of other writers. I think he's also making fun of a whole tradition, like a whole historical writing tradition that was very much dominant in the ancient world, which is paradoxography, which we covered when we talked about Phlegon of Tralles a few years ago, you know, where Phlegon of Tralles is basically like the ancient world National Enquirer, right? Like with all these weird things that happen, like a baby is born with a dog's head and stuff, and like these outrageous tales that he's writing down. But those tales, that tradition of paradoxography absolutely found its way into works like Herodotus, Ctesias, etc.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. It's so in Herodotus, so you can see exactly that. Like, but Herodotus, and I think this is why Lucian is angry at Herodotus and not somebody like Phlegon, is that, I mean, one was way more famous than the other, so like, but ignoring that, Herodotus is like, he is presenting what feels like incredibly grounded real history, quote unquote, real history. He is presenting that alongside this paradoxography like you're talking about. And that, I think, is what makes Lucian so pissed off. It's like AI. Oh my God. Lucian is angry at AI. He is angry at the fact that you can't tell real from fake within Herodotus. Sorry, I just feel like I've reached peak.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, AI is up there telling us telling us some real things, but also telling us that we can put glue on our pizza. Like,
and how do you know what's real?
Yeah, how do you know what's real? These two types of things are presented next to each other with no labeling, no context at all. It's just like, this is all purported to be real, and he's pissed about it, and rightly so. He wants a better tradition of knowing what's real in documents that purport to tell us real things, right? He's like, I want it to actually tell me what's real. And they're not doing that. So he's like, right, I'm going to write this writing that is it's just a lie. And I'm going to tell you up front that it's a lie. Everything in here is a lie. That's in his intro. Just FYI, I'm more honest than all of these assholes because I'm going to tell you I'm lying.
And I think, like, just to go back to that point I was making earlier, and I think this work is so important, and it does eventually come down in time as being one of the earliest fictions, as Jenny said, and it is copied and used in some ways later on in Gulliver's Travels. And, you know, Swift is obviously a very big fan of Lucian. He was a satirist himself. And they used these fantastical worlds and other places in order to, you know, make really cutting social commentary about what was going on in the world and in their time by setting it somewhere slightly fantastical and out of the way. Like, obviously, Lucian was talking about the AI and not knowing what's real and what's not real in history.
He's got 7 fingers, goddammit!
Yeah, look at the fingers!
And Swift was using the same formula in Gulliver's Travels, and he also uses satire and a modest proposal, which we talked about earlier, in order to like make something completely fantastical and wild claims and then bring them back and show like, actually, we could do these things and then we don't have to eat children. Or we don't have to, colonize all these places. I mean, I'm not saying Gulliver's Travels is a great work of social commentary, but there is commentary in a lot of the stuff he did, and he was taking that from our boy Lucian. So I gotta love this wild story that we're gonna tell you. We could eat the children, or we could reform and not have to eat these well-suckled children.
Well-suckled babies.
Suckled children. Those healthy babies.
Give me a nice, well-suckled child on a pizza crust.
Can you stop talking about eating babies again, Jenny?
It's not the first episode I've ever done where Jen had to tell me to stop talking about eating babies. Let's move on.
Let's jump straight into Lucian, because we are going to be at this for 3 hours. I'm so excited to hear the beginnings, because I only read my piece, and then it's been like 2.5 years, I think, somehow since I did it. I've got some pieces to like read aloud too, because I want to.
Same. I put huge swaths, and then I was like, I can't just read all this aloud, and I had to cut it back.
I know, that's what I did too, yes.
All right, Jen, hit us with this wild beginning to this story.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Throughout history, royals across the world were notorious for incest. They married their own relatives in order to consolidate power and keep their blood blue. But they were oblivious to the havoc all this inbreeding was having on the health of their offspring. From Egyptian pharaohs marrying their own sisters to the Habsburgs' notoriously oversized lower jaws, I explore the most shocking incestuous relationships and tragically inbred individuals in royal history. And that's just episode 1. On the History Tea Time podcast, I profile remarkable queens and LGBTQ+ royals, explore royal family trees, and delve into women's medical history and other fascinating topics. I'm Lindsay Holiday, and I'm spilling the tea on history. Join me every Tuesday for new episodes of the History Tea Time podcast, wherever fine podcasts are enjoyed.
Calling all kids in the car. Brittany and Meredith here from the chart-topping Family Road Trip Trivia podcast. Are you dreading another silent car ride with the fam? We've got the cure. 3 rounds of fresh trivia every single week. Movies, music, even science and Disney. We've got something for every trivia buff in the car. No more crickets chirping on those long journeys. The Family Road Trip Trivia podcast is your secret weapon for connecting and laughing with kids of all ages. Teens, toddlers, adults, it doesn't matter. Spark their curiosity and challenge their brains with every episode. New episodes drop weekly wherever you get your podcasts. Search for the Family Road Trip Trivia podcast and turn those car rides into epic adventures.
So, first, I just wanted to start by like my favorite thing, and I'm not going to recap all of it, is Lucian starts the story and he's like, listen, athletes need a rest day and a cheat day, and writers and people who enjoy reading should also have like a rest day and a cheat day. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. And when they're having said rest day and cheat day, they should just enjoy with fantastical stories or wanderings in order to reset their brain so they can think those important thoughts. So, of course, the section I have is about everyone's favorite Lord and Savior, Dionysus.
All hail, she says, taking a sip of wine.
And I literally cannot possibly express how wild and fun this section is. Like, it's everything I wanted.
All I remembered was that it was Dionysus, and so I'm thrilled that it worked out so beautifully. I was like, Jen will like it. I don't remember what happens except there's weird stuff and it's Dionysus.
I mean, I would say for our spooky season listeners, this is the true horror of the entire section. And I'll tell you why. in a little bit. So Lucian decides that he's got this thirst for adventure. He wants to essentially go on a journey, and he gets together a band of 50 other adventurers, people of like minds who also want to see what's west of Westeros, essentially. And they decide that they're going to sail past the Pillars of Hercules. And we all know that the Pillars of Hercules in the ancient world was like the end of the known world.
That's where Atlantis is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Atlantis is as true as what I'm going to tell you.
So you lie.
We're all lying here.
So Lucian and his band of merry wanderers sail west of Westeros. And on the first day, they have really good weather. It's really smooth sailing. But on the second day, a storm comes. And the storm just keeps on coming. And I love this old-timey translation for 19 days.
7 years ago.
Sounds like the Declaration of Independence.
If I've worked this out correctly, that's 79 days. And that is a really long time to be tossed about on the sea, in my opinion. Again, I have that feeling of very Old Testament when the great flood comes and they're just on the water forever until they send the dove out and get their olive branch. And you know that Lucian was satirizing a lot of stuff going on at this time, so it would not surprise me if that's what he's doing here.
Well, and remember that there's a Greek myth that tells the story in the same kind of way where they have to wait it all out, too.
So, after the storm ends, our weary travelers find themselves on a mysterious island with a brazen bronze pillar that featured this engraving, "Thus far traveled Hercules and Bacchus." And that is just one of the things where Lucian is just like, oh, Hercules and Dionysus got here to this island. I'm glad this is on my ancient world bucket list. He was super excited to get there, super excited to be off the boat. This island is actually not in the sea. It's the first thing they've seen in a long time. So Lucian tells us, and again, this is some old-timey words quotes, old-timey word quotes. I don't know. I'm doing well. Quote, "There were also near unto the place 2 portraitures cut out in a rock, one of the quantity of an acre of ground, and the other less, which made me imagine the lesser to be Bacchus and the other to be Hercules. And after giving worship to these 2 portraitures, in quotation marks, they continue to explore the island." I feel like there's a great travelogue that no one has written yet, and maybe I will write one day. That's the adventures of Dionysus and Heracles when they decide to wander the world just dressed as ladies, just having their best time. What they found as they continued to explore this island was epic. There were streams that were made not of water, but wine. And some of these streams and rivers were deep enough to hold an actual boat. And the wine flowed freely down the streams, and if you cupped it in your hands, it was delicious. It was as good as any of the wine made in Chios, which I'm guessing at this time must have had great wine. Maybe that's where the Florian came from? Probably not.
Florian came from Italy, for sure. We know where. It's a specific place.
Well, Chios is where mastica comes from.
And it comes from the trees, which is we're going to get to in a minute, right? So when they go to these streams, they decide that they're going to catch some fish because they're really hungry. So they catch the fish and they take one bite. And what happens? They're instantly drunk. One of Lucian's companions decides, I'm going to cut open this fish and see what's inside it. What makes it so drunk? And what does he find inside? But these things called lees. And lees are essentially the dregs that you find at the bottom of a barrel of wine. And incidentally, what are the dregs used for? A very famous ancient Greek drinking game?
Kottabos.
Kottabos, exactly. Where you just fling them all over the place.
The messiest drinking game ever.
The one that every time I talk about, I get rage. So much rage. I just love Lucian's commitment to these details about wine and how it's produced and what you might find inside a fish that's actually essentially wine. Moving on. So they continued, this party of, I think there's about 20 of them, continued to follow the stream of wine to its source. And when they get there, they don't find a freshwater spring. Oh, no. They find vines and these vine-like trees with deep roots that essentially feed into the spring and make the water run with wine. And as Jenny noted, Chios is known for mastica, which is a type of liquor that you can...
But mastica is only one thing they make from mastic. So really what he's connected to is just the mastic generally. I don't know how old it is as a liqueur, but it's definitely old in terms of the tree creating it. Because they also make it an early form of chewing gum and all this different stuff.
I was going to get there too. So essentially, like, Ctesias is known for mastica, which they make into both a gum and booze and everything else. So I kind of love this detail of, like, trees can be used to get you drunk, which is true.
Damn right. I told some family recently about a mastica mojito. Ugh, sipping some mastica one night. Oh, so good.
Hell yes. Hell yes. My favorite kind of mojito.
I know, I always think of you, Jenny. I always think of you.
So here's where we get to the true horror story. They find some very beautiful tree women as they're journeying through this land. And the tree women look a lot like depictions of Daphne as she was being turned into a tree. They are women from the waist up and trees from the waist down, although I believe they can walk. Their fingers end with these grapes, and their hair was made up of vines and also grapes. And are we sensing a theme here about these women? Is it hitting you over the head yet? Has Lucian made his satirical purpose yet?
I don't know. I was too busy drinking my wine.
Are they drunk ants?
Are they drunk ants?
They are. I mean, you can see where ants came from.
This is where the women ants all ended up on this island.
Lady ants. They're drunk lady ants.
Well done, Jenny.
They don't need the men. They have wine.
I mean, listen, I don't blame them. Have you had a conversation with the male ends? It takes a long time to say anything.
Absolutely. And the ladies are like, nah, we just be drinking.
Anyway, Lucian talks a whole bit about how they speak all these different languages, Greek and Indian languages and all sorts of other languages, but mostly Greek. I'm like, all right, thanks, Lucian.
He's like, oh, we get it. We get it. Everyone loves Greece.
The cool thing that he talks about in his opening is like when he's bashing on the other the other historians is like, well, you know, this historian wrote all about going to India, but he never went to India. And this historian wrote all about this, but they never went there. So if they didn't actually have to go to those places to write about these things, I'm also going to write about things I've never seen. But I'm telling you right now, it's all made up.
Spoilers, things he's never seen. Places he's never been to inside of a whale.
And Ctesias absolutely wrote like a whole history about India and had not ever been to India and put a lot of questionable things in there.
And that's what Lucian's calling him out on. He's like, no. You might as well have made up women who are half tree, half drunken goddess.
Well, do you guys know offhand how Herodotus describes hippos?
They're like leathery horses, right?
They're like literally river horses in his. And you're like, have you seen a hippo, my man? Like, he's like, they're a horse in the water. And you're like, that's not a hippo. It's a horse in the water.
My favorite thing about Herodotus is he has to tell us at all times who the hotties were. Like, this race of men was very attractive, and this one was also attractive, and this one... attractive.
This one, not so much.
I think he only wrote about the hot ones. I think that was his thing.
I mean, truly.
Anyway, these women who have like grapes for appendages and stuff, anyone who tries to like pick their grapes, like that causes them immense pain. And I was like, why would you do that? That's a horrible thing. If they give it to you, it's one thing. Don't try and pick people's parts of body and consume them. So these women, they were really nice hostess, right? Like some of them were even like hostesses with the mostesses, and maybe they were a little lonely, and maybe some of the visiting party was attractive. This is what Lucian tells us, and I love how archaic this translation is. So, quote, they also kissed us with their mouths, but he that was so kissed fell drunk, and was not his own man a good while after. They could not abide to have any fruit pulled from them. Again, rude, but would roar and cry out pitifully if any man offered it.
Like, you're fucking assaulting them. Of course they're crying out. Fuck you.
Like these ladies, if you try to cut off their fingers, they'll roar and cry pitifully.
I'm sorry, if you try to cut off their twig and berries, they wouldn't be thrilled either, dudes. Now, some of them desired to have carnal mixture with us.
I love to mix carnally.
And two of our company were so bold as to entertain their offer, and could never afterwards be loosed from them, but were knit fast together at their nether parts, from whence they grew together and took root together, and their fingers began to spring out with branches and crooked wires, as if they were ready to bring out fruit. Whereupon we forsook them and fled to our ships, and told the company at our coming what had betide unto us, how our fellows were entangled, and of their copulation with the vines.
We're channeling Circe.
Then we took certain of our vessels and filled them, some with water, and some with wine out of the river, and lodged for that night near the shore. Now listen, I wanted you to hear this old-timey translation because it's bananas and I love it. But also the true horror story here is these women who are like, I just wanted to have a real good one-night stand and now I'm stuck, fused together with these randos who invaded my island, tried to pick my berries, tried to pick off parts of me to eat and get drunk. And now this dude is stuck with me forever. I'm sorry.
Look, you just wanted a casual good time and now look. Use protection, kids.
The only thing I like about that is that the men instantly become pregnant, in a sense, with like their own berries and vines and everything else. It's like, haha, you thought I was going to have the babies. No, you are. Anyway, this is just too much. I just feel really bad for these women. And that to me is the true horror story here. That is my section. It is a very short section and it's a lot of fun. Warnings, if you find a strange island where all of the water is wine and if you drink it, you get out of your head drunk, like, good luck. Dionysus and his friends are here.
Don't pluck people's grapes. It's really easy.
And if mysterious tree women want to copulate with you, wear protection. Otherwise, you're going to be a tree with them, having berry babies.
Berry babies.
Get excited.
Oh, they were excited, Jenny. That wasn't the problem.
Can you imagine, Jenny? It's like, oh, I just met this dude on Tinder, and now I'm stuck fused to them forever.
This is a beautiful, beautiful love story.
Only fun in fiction.
That's what Lucian would say. He'd be like, it's not true. It is fun, but it is not true, which makes it fine.
Where are they going next, Jenny? Where are they going?
Well, so the next section is my section, and it is where we go into space.
This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-acrobat.
Hello everyone, Stakuyi here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.
So after the Dionysian island with the deadly, sexy tree women, our heroes set out again in their ship, whereupon they were lifted into a waterspout and transported 3,000 whole furlongs, which are, in fact, I googled this, 375 miles into the air.
That's how far the sky is.
I had to look this up, too. So the moon is actually 238,900 miles from Earth. So they missed a few feet.
Just a handful.
Anyway, so they rose up, higher, and higher until they found themselves on the moon. And who did they meet when they got to the moon? Men riding monstrous vultures.
Did they try to have sex with them or pick their vulture's fur? Like, questions.
Vultures have feathers.
Well, also the vultures, I think, are probably being coded male, so they wouldn't be doing that.
Greek men never had sex with other men. We all know that.
This episode is full of lies.
So anyway, these vulture-riding guards took them to the king of this moon country, and that was a man named Endymion, I believe, who was transported here when he fell asleep on Earth, and who was now king of the moon.
Can I provide a background on that name? And Endymion? Endymion is, I'm assuming I'm not about to get this wrong because it makes perfect sense. But no, Endymion had a romantic relationship with Selene, the moon. That's why.
So he didn't just fall asleep. He was having some nighttime times with Selene, and she was like, all right, come on up and live on me. I got you.
Sexy times with the moon. As one does.
As one does. Live on me. As I recall, I think that Lucian leaves that part out. But anyway, who else would you expect to meet on the moon but Endymion, right? Anyway, so Endymion adds that he is at war with Phaeton, who would obviously be king of the sun.
Yeah, the son of Helios. Yeah, he drove the chariot of the sun. It went very poorly.
Again, this is why you don't let children drive your massive flaming sun chariot without a proper driver's license and instructions.
I think this is poor parenting.
And at that age, you should be in the car with them.
I mean, he's the king of the sun in this one, so it's not so bad now.
Right. So Endymion and Phaeton are at war. There are people living on the sun, just like the moon, and they are at war over a colony on the morning star. Endymion asked these travelers, led by Lucian, so would you chuckleheads like to join our war with the Sunnites? And, we'll provide you with all the gear you need, your very own vultures.
They're horse vultures, also, to be clear.
Like part horses?
Horse vultures. Yeah.
I see. I picked up only that they were vultures in the part that I read, but that is an even better mental picture.
Well, also, like, half the creatures in your section, Jenny, are like half horse, half other weird things. So I'm probably going to be bothering you to point out some things as we go because it's so fun.
That's okay. Yeah, point out whenever something is part horse, please. Anyhow, yeah, so we'll give you your own vulture horse. Who doesn't want to ride a vulture horse?
Those are two things I don't want to have mashed together and then be asked to ride. Nope, I'm out.
Yeah, same. I'm okay.
I mean, like, if I had the opportunity, I would probably try it. So anyway, our heroes absolutely could not refuse. They were down. So, Endymion's army, we now get into who was in Endymion's army. And this is one of my favorite parts of this because it's essentially describing his concept of what alien life forms were like. And I just find it delightful. And also, like, what their arms and weapons looked like. And I find that equally delightful.
It reminds me of the Batrachomaiomakia, the battle of the frogs and mice, because it's really similar the way they describe all the tiny weapons. It's just, oh my god, every time. It's a joy.
Yes. The tiny armaments.
So I'm gonna quote you some passages, and I absolutely could have quoted like twice this amount, but I decided to rein it back. It was really tough to decide what to leave in, but I think I chose well. So, quote, our forces in number, this is Endymion's forces in number, amounted to 100,000. Of these, 400,000 were Hippogippians, which were men riding on vulture horses. Yeah, Hippogippian, yeah. And 20,000 that rode upon Lachanopters, which is a mighty great fowl.
It is a mighty great fowl.
And instead of feathers, covered thick over with wart leaves. Of course.
Totally normal.
But their wing feathers were much like the leaves of lettuces. I imagine like Lucian sitting down with someone and just telling them this with a complete straight face. People in the ancient world were credulous.
Yeah.
After them was placed the Kenkrobolians and this, I'm going to screw this up, Skorodomachians.
Okay, can I tell you? Okay, so the Skorodomachians are you ready for this?
So ready.
Garlic people. Garlic men, of course.
There are no women among them. No,
they're garlic men. Skordo is still garlic in Greek, which is just a true joy. But then the other ones were they call them, I have a different translation, it calls them millet throwers. That one's not as exciting.
So are you picking this up because I'm so impressed by this? Are you picking this up just by what the word means in Greek?
No, some of them, yes, but no, I also have a document I found right before I got on the call with you guys that explains them, so I will go through them. I found it right at the end, but yeah, no, I mean, there was a couple that I picked up in my own that I'll tell you about, and then I was like, no, wait, and then I did a ton of Googling to try to find somebody who had gone through all of the different creatures, and this guy kind of did.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we have the garlic men, we have the millet throwers. There came also to aid us from the bear star 30,000 Silotoxotans,
Flea archers.
and 50,000 aminodromians.
Wind coursers. That's less clear. Wind drivers, I imagine. More like dromy, like a hippodrome. Horse, yeah. So they're like riding the winds.
So these Silotoxotans ride upon great fleas, of which they have their denomination. For every flea among them is as big as a dozen elephants. I love this so much. It's so great. Because you think he's not going to top himself, and then he tops himself.
Yeah, because he like went really hard into every possible detail. He's like, yeah, well, it's a flea. Nah, it's bigger than this many elephants.
That's right, but it is still a flea. The aminodromians are footmen, yet flew in the air without feathers in this manner. Every man had a large mantle reaching down to his foot, which the wind blowing against filled it like a sail, and they were carried along as if they had been boats.
They're like little skydivers, or like if you're like windsurfers, kind of, but on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. They're like moon windsurfers.
Yeah, like kite surfers, yeah.
The furniture was all alike. Their helmets of bean hulls, which are great with them and very strong. Their breastplates all of lupins cut into scales. Their shields and swords like to ours in Greece. I'm so glad he provided that one where he's like, the shields and swords are just normal shields and swords.
Totally normal. That's fine.
So, our guy, the King of the Sun, Phaeton, rolled up with his own troops, and these were similarly wild. And I'm going to give you another quote. Quote, but of the enemy's side, the left wing consisted of the hippomyrmics.
Horse ants.
Yes, myrmidons and hippos. Yeah, horse ants.
And among them, Phaeton himself. These are beasts of huge bigness.
This translation, peak. That's like a Trump quote. Huge bigness.
Listen, this whole thing is like a Trump fever dream, okay?
No, we're making Lucian look bad.
Anyway, so they were beasts of huge bigness and winged, carrying the resemblance of our emmets, which I had Googled, and that is apparently ants, as Liv said. But for their greatness, for those of the largest size were of the quantity of 2 acres. And they were in number 50,000.
1 million.
I just love these giant numbers, because that also is kind of making fun of how people wrote about, like, the military, right?
Oh, 100%. It's like the Battle of Thermopylae, right? There's like, there were 2 million people. And it's like, well, that would have stretched all the way back to Persia if there was that many people.
They literally did not have that size of a population back then. They did not have that many people in their whole country.
It was physically impossible. Yeah. And Herodotus was like, but 2 million.
So we talked about what was on the left wing. In the right wing were ranged the aerocanopes, of which there were about 50,000. What's that, Liv?
Sky gnats.
Of which there were also about 50 million. 50,000. 50,000. 1 million. All archers riding upon great gnats. Then followed the aerocardakes.
There's a couple that are just not very fun. I'll let you keep going.
Okay. Who are light-armed and footmen, but good soldiers. Kind of boring. Oh, but here's a fun thing. Casting out of slings, afar off, huge, great turnips.
They're so obsessed with turnips in the ancient world. I love it.
I know. They cannot stop.
Because they don't have any potatoes. Like, if you had potatoes, you wouldn't have to be obsessed with turnips.
So anyway, we're talking about these light-armed footmen, but good soldiers, who used slings and cast out of their slings huge, great turnips. And whoever was hit with them lived not long after, but died with the stink that proceeded from their wounds. I love that. Like, these are poison turnips. Excuse me while I burp. After them were placed the Colomycetes.
This is like stock fungi. There's a couple that are just like, I don't know about this name, so.
In number about 50,000. 1 million. They are called Colomycetes because their shields were made of mushrooms, and their spears of the stalks of the herb asparagus.
Oh, like cauliflower and then mushroom. Oh my god, interesting. Love that. Oh my god.
Did you just figure that out in real time?
Yeah, I'm looking at this word. Sorry, this is what my brain does with everything, which is why I am ridiculous. I love this. Cauliflower mushroom. Sorry, keep going. Cauliflower mushroom.
Anyway, so their spears were of the stalk of the herb asparagus. Near unto them were placed the Balanians, that were sent from the dog star to aid him. These were men with dogs' faces riding upon winged acorns.
That word just literally means dog acorns.
Oh, exactly what it says on the tin.
Very straightforward.
Yes. So, these two mighty forces joined in battle, and after much clashing and back and forth war, during which the earth was showered with dead bodies and the clouds all looked like they were bleeding, for a minute it seemed like the Moonites, I've seen some translations say Moonites and Sunites, so I'm just going to say Moonites because I think it's fun. Anyway, for a minute it seemed like the Moonites were winning, but suddenly, Nephilos centaurs attacked.
Cloud centaur.
Cloud centaurs. These were massive, massive centaurs, as large as the Colossus of Rhodes, which is explicitly referenced, Jen.
Yeah, that naked statue that stood for about 50 years and then was in the water for, I think, 800 years? It did not stand for very long, but you could, go over its grave.
I mean, it was too big. It was too big, guys.
I know, but sadly, it wasn't where you thought it would be, Liv. It was not in the harbor, straddling it, so you could upskirt it. It makes me sad.
I mean, I feel like that's always going to be the answer to those things. It's never quite what we've been led to believe.
So anyway, these Nephilos centaurs attacked, and they were extremely large. Let's be clear. They were led by the very Sagittarius of the Zodiac himself, and they laid waste to Endymion's troops. And our brave narrator, Lucian, and two of his buddies were captured, bound with cobwebs, and brought to the sun as prisoners. And meanwhile, the Sunites built a wall around the moon so none of the sun's light would fall upon it, dooming the moon to live in darkness forever. What will our heroes do next? So Endymion thought that this was completely unreasonable. He sent ambassadors to Phaeton asking them to lift this perpetual eclipse. And Lucian and his friends were eventually released back to the moon in the ensuing negotiations, and Endymion embraced him with much tears and offered him his firstborn son in marriage. And Lucian turned this down politely and asked only to be released to the sea. To the sea! Which he soon was.
Did you say firstborn son, though, in marriage?
I did, and I'm going to go into that. So, before we proceed to the next section, who wants to hear about what the people and life on the moon was like?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, I do. I hope we have more little acorn aprons.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the people on the moon that Lucian observed, and I'm reading this in the grand tradition of cultural othering that ancient Greek and Roman writers engaged in when they were writing about cultures that they were not part of. So, first of all, there are no women on the moon. That is the first thing we're told. Only men, and they only reproduce other men.
Oh, good.
That's like a fucking man's wet dream.
Actually, I think the Greeks would love this. Men marry other men, and they do it at the age of 25, and they reproduce by gestating babies in their legs. Some of them do.
Let's just remind you, I didn't see the translation, but if it was thigh, we all know what that means, right? That means in your ball sack, like Zeus and Dionysus.
So you guys say that every time, but why do you think thigh automatically also means ball sack?
Well, it was like a euphemism.
How do you know it's a euphemism? I'm just so curious, because I've heard you guys say this before, but I have no idea the background of it.
I honestly don't remember where this come from. This was so long ago, I don't, but it's just something we read somewhere and then completely internalized, and now it's canon in our heads.
But it was somewhere reputable, I think, that I found it. Or who knows, it's us. It could be nonsense. But I read it somewhere that it was a euphemism, and then was sometimes translated this way or that way, and we're not exactly sure where it came from, but yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Because the 18th century translators didn't want to say ball sack, so they kind of sanitized it, was what I was reading, or that's what I remember.
Well, of course, but that's why I want to read the actual Greek. That's why I'm so curious where you've read it. I don't even know what the source is. I'm going to go find it later.
So anyway, they only have boy babies, and they gestate them in their legs. That's one way they reproduce, but then there's another species of men that also reproduces by, let me find it, wait. There's another species of men called the dendritans, who reproduce by cutting off a man's right testicle and planting it, from which grows a tree.
Totally normal.
And I'm interpreting testicle because I think he says nut or something that wasn't exactly testicle but seemed like a real obvious euphemism. Anyway, and planting it, from which grows a meat tree.
I was going to say, because dendron is like some form of just tree.
With branches and leaves and everything meat, which drops flesh acorns on the ground, which are large, a cubit long.
How long is a cubit, Jenny? How long is a cubit?
I don't know. It's at least 6 inches.
You should Google it.
It's a cubit, a cubit.
Keep saying cubit. You don't know how big it is.
It's about 18 inches.
How big do you want it to be, Jen?
I don't know. What's coming out of this cubit?
Men are coming out of the cubits.
Then I want it to be very tiny.
So the people who come out, the men who come out of these cubit-long acorns have detachable genitals.
This is an Athenian man's dream.
I know. So I have more fun facts. So there's a lot about what people eat and drink, and what they eat and drink is mostly air. So like they will cook like a pig or something and then just inhale the air and just eat that, and that is their food. Or like there's a weird thing about how they also drink air, but first they have to like pound it on an anvil or something.
Of course they do.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. I don't know what you're talking about. That makes complete sense.
Lucian also tells us that they copulate in their hams.
As one does.
In their hams? Like
in their hams.
Okay.
Ham is in like a meat?
That's literally what the word is. And I was like, what is that? What is the ham? I kind of interpreted this as like the calves, but I could be wrong. Using an open place on there's a vagina in your hams. Is the hams like the butt or is it the calves?
Well, is it like hamstring?
That's what I'm wondering, if it's what cut of meat a ham is. Let me see. Like a ham hock.
I genuinely don't know what he means by that. Another fun fact, everybody's whole foot is but one toe. Everyone.
Well, sure.
Just one toe, including Endymion, I'm assuming. Also, the dropping of their noses is more sweet than honey.
Ew. Their like boogers are sweeter than honey.
Yes, their boogers are sweeter than honey. Oh, and all of these men are like kangaroos because they can all open and shut their stomachs at will. And inside their stomachs is lined with hair. Like, they don't have any intestines in there. So, like, they put their stuff in there when they need to carry things. It's like a man purse, if you will, but in the stomach. And also, they can put their children in there when they get cold. So these are like kangaroos.
Kangaroos.
Kangaroos, Jen.
Kangaroos?
Roos.
I'm just going to keep doing it.
Kangaroos.
It's like, who's on first?
So anyway, and they can also pop out their eyeballs at will.
As one does.
And pop off their genitals at will because their genitals are detachable. And that is where I'm going to end it.
This sounds like being on like a middle school bus and like the boys, particularly at the back of the bus, are like, let me flip my eyelids up so you can see like how crazy my eyes are and all the genital talk.
Right, let me turn my eyelids inside out.
Can I possibly blow a hole in your thigh theory?
Sure.
As someone writing a novel about Dionysus, I'm here for this. Please keep going.
Great. I am ridiculous, and so I was listening to you, Jenny, while also looking up the Greek lines where it comes from. I think that the term thigh actually only appears in, or first like surviving appears in Bacchae, which is amazing. Like there isn't an earlier source that talks about it, so Euripides. And so I'm just looking at the translation that I went looking for the Greek. The best part though is that the first line before that, so that this is a translation I found that says, okay, immediately Zeus, Cronos' son, received him in a chamber fit for birth, and having covered him in his thigh, shut him up with golden clasps, hidden from Hera. So it's really interesting. I feel like maybe he received him in his ballsack, honestly, because received him in a chamber fit for birth, and then his thigh, but then I went and found the word that they use for thigh, and it is straight thigh. But the thing is that this reminded me, which is more interesting, and it adds interest to the thigh nature, is that, of course, the thigh is like the sacred bone of all animal sacrifice. Like the thigh is the one you give to the gods. So I think you're like right and not right. Like I think thigh does mean thigh, but also that maybe he's saying that he got the baby first in his ballsack and then it went to his thigh.
That's wild, and I love it.
Yeah. But thigh is not a euphemism. Thigh is actually thigh, and it's actually important because it's connected to the sacrificial nature, because that's like where all of the sacred stuff happened. So it makes a lot of sense. So it's like, oh, it's even more interesting now. Sorry, I'm
fascinated. That's interesting. Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like, because the whole thigh bone, right? Like the whole point, because the story goes that like they tricked, with Prometheus's help, right? They tricked Zeus into allowing humans to sacrifice and only give the gods like the worst cuts of meat, right? Because their whole thing was that they took the thigh bone, they wrapped it in fat and then skin and made it look like it was a good cut of meat, and then Zeus was like surprised, but then it just ended up being like, okay, well that's the one fit for the gods. So it's the thigh bone is the only like bone fit for the gods. It's definitely important that it's the thigh, but I do think you're right and that it's coming through the ball sack. I wanted to find more, but that I didn't go deep into the Greek of the chamber fit for birth, but that is like that there's a lot happening in a chamber fit for birth. So anyway,
right. It's like probably the most close thing that a man would have there is a testicle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think the whole point is that there isn't a chamber fit for birth too. Like this just feels very Dionysus or very Euripides. Like there's a lot going on there now. I'm like, okay, well maybe that's going into my episode for next week. So to the listeners, you might be already thinking, oh, Liv, you already talked about that. Yeah, that's because that's how recording works. I haven't talked about it yet. Okay, guys, is it my turn? Sorry, now I'm rambling.
It is your turn.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
An all-new season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Mom Talk has just been blowing up.
Whitney and Jen are on Dancing with the Stars.
Taylor is a bachelorette.
Saying that out loud is crazy. Like, that is huge.
But all the cool opportunities could pull us apart.
It's causing issues in everyone's marriage.
My whole world is falling apart right now. It's chaos.
Watch the Hulu original series, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
So, Liv, what happens to our brave heroes after they leave the country of the moon?
Well, as you said, they float for a couple of days before they land into the sea. It's quite explicit. They seem to float all the way down and they kind of see stuff along the way, but then they finally land in the sea and they're like, okay, well, this seems like we're on a good track. They're really psyched about the sea. They're weirdly pumped about the water. They land in the sea in their ship and then they're like, okay, we're gonna have a great feast. And then basically it says that they like flit about in the water. Like they're basically like splashing each other, giggling away in the water.
I bet they were so happy to finally have like a shower that wasn't like, or like a wash that wasn't either 92% wine or moon whatever. Moon babies.
Moon ants. I don't even know. I mean, so true. But then you see, then they realize that because things seem to be going really well, that means they're about to go really bad. Because Lucian, if nothing, is an optimist. After 2 days, they're floating along for 2 days, kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then they start seeing like a lot of really big fish, like 2 big fish. And they are eaten by a whale. It is a really big whale. He describes the teeth as like definitely like whale, like it's baleen, I think it's called, right? The stuff they like suck krill through. He describes them because he's like, their teeth are enormous and needle-like, sharp as anything. And it's like, well, I mean, you're getting it mostly right, but they're really not going to eat you guys. Like, it's fine. They couldn't actually do much. So yeah, they get inside. They get swallowed by this whale, ship and all. He's like, we're really lucky. Here, I have a quote of this. Swallowed us up, ship and all, but by chance he caught us not between his chops, for the ship slipped through the void passages down into his entrails. And so for like a day, they sail in the darkness of this whale. It's a very big whale. The entrails, indeed. But then it turns out that this whale and its entrails are big enough to hold what they presume to be, well, it's not there, but they say that it's big enough to hold what could be a city of 10,000 men. That's how big the inside of this whale is.
But no women. Let's be clear. No women.
No, exactly. Absolutely. No women. There's not a single woman in this entire thing. He would be horrified that we are reading it.
No, I don't think Lucian would be horrified. I think Lucian...
No, that's true. I actually think maybe he's making fun of the writers, the historians again.
I think he'd be like, first off, I like that I don't have to strain my wine. Second off, I like that you have silly things to say. Please keep going. I want innuendo. Go.
Well, so they're in this whale for a long time, and this whale is really big. So they start noticing...
Are they in it for a year? Because that's very biblical.
The whale, really right now, we're just figuring out just how big this whale is. And when I tell you this whale is big, you have to believe me. Because like I said, it could fit a city of 10,000 men. This whale has swallowed up hills. He's like, there are hills that have formed from like the dirt that this whale swallowed, and then there are trees and herbs, very specifically herbs, growing in those hills of swallowed dirt. The inside of this whale is full of seabirds. He names out some sea gulls of sorts and halcyon, and so it says really specifically, it's full of seabirds nesting in trees. But then this other source I found, we'll link to it, but it's Lucian of Samosata project, and that's where I was getting some of those names defined. Because it just has a note after this where it's like, yeah, this whale is full of seabirds nesting in trees. And then there's a note that just says, gulls and halcyons do not build nests in trees. But inside of a whale, they do.
I love that he has to inform us that is the case, but he goes off on the space section about all the animal people who exist in space.
Oh, no, this is the notes. This is the notes of, like, this person's, defining the things. So it was just more letting us know, which is good because I wouldn't have known that they don't nest in trees. I would have made an assumption, but it's funnier knowing that Lucian did that on purpose.
Oh, in the translation.
I love it. There's so many people who think that, like, mostly seagoing birds nest in trees. Like, I'm pretty sure puffins, like, nest in, like, high crags.
Seagulls nest on my roof. I can tell you that right now.
And they live like kind of like in these rocky places, and they hang out there in the summer when the babies are young. And then as soon as the weather changes, they take to sea for the winter. They're the craziest birds ever, and I just love them. That's a wild way to live your life.
Puffins are really flippin' cute, but puffins are nowhere near Greece, I'll tell you that.
They like it cold.
They're a cold bird, that's for sure. So really, like, they're just taking in this basically, like, entire world within this whale. They have a nice supper of all of the fish. There's a lot of dead fish inside this whale, if you can believe it. And they wait out the night. And so as time goes on inside this whale, they do get glimpses of the outdoors. They learn that time is passing because the whale opens his mouth once an hour, and they get a little glimpse of what's outside. So, you know, they see a glimpse of, there's mountains, and then, there's the sky, and then, oh my gosh, there's some islands. But it's all just these brief moments of the whale opening its mouth. And then finally, in the whale, the next day, they're out, they're wandering, they're exploring the innards of this whale and, you know, all the trees and things. And inside this forest growing inside of a whale, they find a temple to Neptune, if you can believe it.
The whale ate a temple to Neptune? I mean, how is it still alive?
Well, no, just wait. Just wait. They built the temple inside the whale. You're jumping ahead, obviously.
The 10,000 men, Jen. The 10,000 men built it. And no women.
No, the 10,000 men, that was an estimate about how many men could live inside this whale. We haven't actually met any men who are actively, I mean, spoilers, there are men living inside this whale. But that was an estimate on size, you see. This is just a really big whale and with a forest. And so, but in that forest and then this temple, that's where they run into the first human that is also living inside this whale. So they come upon this man. His name is Ctesias, and he's there with his son. They describe his son as a youth. Very shortly, that will make no sense to you. But for now, we have a man named Ctesias and his son, a youth. And they've been living inside this whale. They've got a whole setup. They've basically built themselves a house. They've got a nice garden inside this whale. They were the ones who built the temple to Neptune, you see, inside the whale. So, Scintharus, who's been living inside this whale, he spots Lucian and his men, and he's like, what are you? Okay, this is a quote. What are you? Excuse me, that's me trying to say ye, because it's such an old-timey translation. What are ye, you strangers? Any of the sea spirits, or miserable men like unto us? For we that are men by nature, born and bred in the earth, are now sea dwellers, and swim up and down within the continent of this whale, and know not certainly what to think of ourselves. We are like to men that be dead, and yet believe ourselves to be alive. And so Lucian's like, well, shit, yeah, actually, yeah. And they're like, well, I guess we're like you now. He's like, well, we just got here, and... well, I guess we're about to learn a lot, but, they have a nice meal. Scintharus is actually an incredibly good host. He is practicing very sound Xenia. He's doing his job well. He's hosting these men inside the whale with his son. They're feasting. They're having a time. They're really visiting, telling stories. And so this is the point where Lucian tells Scintharus and his son the story of their time on the moon and that great battle. He retells this story within this whale. It's a whale of a time. If you can believe it. It's a whale of a time.
That's usually something I would say, Liv.
Well, it's something I would say too, don't you worry.
Is Jenny rolling her eyes enough?
Jenny doesn't like a pun, and she's wrong.
Exactly. And she doesn't like dad jokes, so,
Dad jokes abound.
I don't love dad jokes. I like puns. There's the difference.
Puns are dad jokes.
Yeah, but they are not mutually exclusive. You're wrong. Jenny, we've already talked about this. You and I I'm pretty sure we fought about this in Athens, while drinking cocktails, and I was like, puns are the best. Let me tell you why. That's a real thing that happened. I'm certain of it.
These are the things we fight about very seriously.
It's exactly right. Where is Troy? Is it Troy? And are puns funny? The answer is Troy is exactly where Troy is, and also puns are funny. We will take no other options. So they've been talking about this. They've been talking to this guy. They're telling stories. They're asking questions. And so this guy's like, I'll tell you about my life. I was a merchant on Cyprus. And he made the mistake, he doesn't say it that way, but he did. He made the mistake of trying to sail to Italy with his son. They were on this enormous ship, this big merchant ship. And he's like, maybe you actually saw it shipwrecked inside the mouth of that whale. And he's like, we only made it as far as Sicily. And then he tells them that they have been inside this whale for 27 years, even though his son was described as a youth at the beginning. But basically, they have made an entire life for themselves within this whale. And quote, and with all this, we might be well enough contented if our neighbors and borderers about us were not perverse and troublesome, altogether insociable, and of stern condition. That's right. There are others living inside of this whale, and Scintharus and his son are not fans. And they are not 10,000 men. They're not really men at all.
Are they crab people?
There's definitely not no crab people, Jen. So these groups living inside of this whale, Scintharus and his son, they start describing them. They talk about how they are deformed and they're just monstrous neighbors. And then, quote, the western countries and the tail part of the wood are inhabited by the Taracanians that look like eels with faces like a lobster. These are warlike, fierce, and feed upon raw flesh.
What?
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Truly. Lobster eels that feed upon raw flesh.
It is a spooky season episode.
Yeah, this is where we get spooky. Not really. Then he's like, yeah, there's another group of people kind of over there. They're top half man, bottom half cats. They don't really cause us any problems.
Because cats rule, of course.
Yeah, that's the only mention of the cat people. And then they're like, that's it, kind of done.
Childless cat men, if you will.
Then we get, though, to the reason I knew all of those words earlier. Because, and Jen, you foresaw this. Then he starts describing all of the other people that live on either sides of this whale. He's got this whale laid out as if it's kind of like a mapped out countries and stuff. It's a large whale. The continent of the whale, as he said earlier. he's describing the people that live nearby. The first ones he talks about are the Carcinocerians. And that is where my brain went, that's crab something. So I was like, ooh, crab something. And then that's what led me on to this, like, big old journey. And Jen, I have the answer, so don't feel like you have to look it up. Also, it was really hard to find. I went on this journey because I was like, that's crab something. It's crab something. It's crab hands, you guys. So it's even better. They're just called crab hands. And it was annoying for my Greek etymology nerd knowledge because I saw it written somewhere else as Carcinoceres. And then I was like, well, then I know it's hands. It was the form. It shook me. In any case, crab hands live nearby, as do the Thinocephalians, which are, I thought I wrote this down, but there's something to do with heads. They're like head something. It's not that exciting. The crab hands are the best ones. And then he says the Pacetopodians. Did I not write this down? There were something feet. Podians is feet. They charge a tribute of 500 oysters to live on their land. Skintharis finds that to be far too expensive. That's just too many oysters.
The rent is too damn high.
It's just too many oysters. But then to your point earlier, Jenny, I read a note on this Lucian project that also notes that this kind of description, particularly like the tributes and the way the description of all of these people is basically, this is a quote from this website. It says, these descriptions are reminiscent of the meeting of Greek colonists with the native people. He's really making fun of these historians and how they describe foreigners, which I kind of love. It feels like he's kind of like, it feels like he's kind of on the better side of this, right? He's like, we shouldn't just assume that all foreigners are like crab hands, you know?
Like, we shouldn't just other people and say that they only have one toe.
Yeah. Maybe they don't have crab hands. Maybe that's an invention. And then he goes on to describe the armor. He says they don't have any armor, but they do have fish bones. And then very shortly after, their pilot gets stabbed in the back with a fish's rib.
Oh, dear.
It's a pretty big deal, yeah. I know, it wasn't looking great. I don't think it was clear if he died or not, because I didn't take notes. So I think they just were like, the pilot was stabbed in the back with a fish's rib. And then, really, and I wrote this, they conquer, for seemingly no reason, everyone. Basically, they just describe all of these people. Like, this is him describing colonization, honestly. He's like, here are all the people who live inside this whale. They are weird and different, and also then we proceeded to kill them all and force the rest of them to leave.
Whale is ours now.
Yep. They just colonized the fuck out of that whale, and it was horrifying.
Killed all the people there.
It's what colonization is. It's happening right now.
Absolutely.
So, but in lighter news, not really. Here's a quote about the conquering. At least if we're talking about conquering and colonization, if they're half crab, half eel, it feels a little easier to talk about. It's pretty unrealistic. But I don't know. I don't have crab hands. Who's to say?
Crab people are also people.
That's exactly right. Crab hands people are still people, even if they have crab hands.
Yes.
Maybe they should not, charge so much money to live around them, but also no excuse for hurting people.
They're evil capitalist landlords, but...
Jen, that was 500 oysters. I agree. It wasn't great, but did they deserve to die?
Nobody deserves to die over 500 oysters.
Well, 500 oysters, is a lot of oysters.
Is it? You don't know how many oysters they have. That could be the equivalent of 2 cents, Jenny.
I don't know the exchange rate. That is true.
Exactly. You don't know the oyster to dollars exchange rate.
I'm just saying, purely in terms of the volume of oysters, that is many oysters.
It's a fair number of oysters, I would agree. It's a lot of shells taking up space, the whole thing.
If I was going to eat 500 oysters, I probably couldn't eat that many oysters.
But you could also just have a nice barter where nobody dies and everyone helps each other and it's collective.
Well, instead, let me read you a quote. Soon after, they sent ambassadors to us to crave the bodies of the dead and to treat upon conditions of peace. But we had no purpose. That was weird. Basically, they just want the bodies of the dead, so they want to bury them.
Crabs do cannibalize their own.
There's only one group that have crab hands, Jenny. We're not talking about everyone being crabs. Let's not be unrealistic. There's one type of people with crab hands.
Didn't mean to be unrealistic. Sorry, Lucian.
Exactly. You just gotta watch it with your lies.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop lying like a historian.
But truly, especially because get to this line, okay? So they're like the ambassadors of all of these people we just conquered. They came to us to ask for the bodies of their dead and to ask about peace. And then, quote, "But we had no purpose to hold friendship with them, but set upon them the next day and put them all to sword, except the Tritomendatans, who, seeming how it fared with the rest of their fellows, fled away through the gills of the fish and cast themselves into the sea." One, Lucian, why do whales have fish? That's not satire. It's just wrong. Sorry, whales have gills. That's not satire. It's just wrong. But also, like, how dark is that? He's literally like, they want peace. We thought, why would we ever give you peace? Get the fuck out of here. We'll kill you all, or you can escape through the gills of this whale that don't exist.
You're creating a narrative that they got what was coming to them, and that's not true.
I mean, it also sounds like this is kind of the offhand way that a lot of ancient Greek and Roman writers, again, wrote about the people that they conquered, and sometimes that's how they treated them.
Well, it's also how modern colonization is actively happening now.
Yes, so this is a document calling out all of that, I would say.
That's so true, really. He's prescient. We love Lucian.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time, and it's not because of the science fiction, which we've agreed is not science fiction.
This man was an innovative mind.
And AI, I mean, so prescient. And listen, consent. Don't try and pick things off of women or try and sleep with women who literally wanted to get away with you and were turned into trees, okay?
Well, and then so basically he keeps describing the crimes of colonization because after they've killed everyone for no reason other than they were like, I don't really see why peace would be a good idea. Relatable. They wander around the entire continent inside this whale and they just really like live their best lives. He describes it as they're wandering around this continent, this whale. They're exercising, they're hunting, they're planting vineyards, and they're gathering fruit, quote, like such men as live delicately and have the world at will in a spacious and unavoidable prison.
I have so many thoughts.
Truly. And, you know, he has a lot of ties to, I think it was Cynic philosophy. Something like that, yeah. And so he's definitely commenting upon like excess because he was like that type of philosophy was really against like excessive shows of wealth and stuff. Really, we love Lucian.
Did he live in a jar and also in the agora and masturbate and fling his poop at people? Because if he didn't, he wasn't a true cynic. I'm coming for you, Diogenes.
Isn't that Empedocles?
It's Diogenes, yeah.
Oh, Diogenes, that's why. Okay, yeah. He did love Diogenes, though. Like, a lot of his writing is featuring Diogenes later, like his other works.
Yeah, we discovered Diogenes in a Lucian thing, so yes.
I mean, Diogenes literally is a satire of himself.
Truly, though, like, I mean, the life inside this whale, I just think, yeah, he's really making a lot of comments on a lot. I feel like we could go into so much detail if we had a million years, but we don't. So, eventually they start... Oh, wait. No, excuse me. I missed the amount of time that passes. 1 year and 8 months later. Inside this whale, they start to see things on the outside of this whale's mouth. And this part is less clear about how exactly this is happening, but it seems to me that they start noticing this stuff happening outside, and then they basically watch this happen, because it doesn't seem like they're actually involved in this next brief war. But they start being able to see outside this whale, there are giants sailing on islands. So they're fully using an island as a boat. We got a quote here. Men of monstrous greatness, half a furlong in stature, sailing upon mighty great islands, as if they were upon shipboard. I know you will think this smells like a lie, but yet you shall have it. So he's like, I know it sounds like a lie. It's not. There were giants riding islands. I saw them from inside of a whale.
Well, I kind of think he's not even saying it's not a lie. He's saying, and yet you shall have it. Take it.
Oh, that's true. He's like, yeah, no, but you can have it anyway, bitch. Well, and he goes on later and he's like, some sat on either side of the island and rowed in their course with great cypress trees, branches, leaves and all, instead of oars. So I just love the visual of a giant riding an island like a boat using a big long cypress tree as an oar. And then, like, honestly, it's wild because they really, from inside this whale, they just, like, watch another battle, but for once they don't seem to be taking place. So, like, but they just start describing, Lucian just starts describing, like, everything about the way these giants were doing it, and then this is where we get more fun words. So he's like, it says, quote, instead of iron grapples, they had mighty great polypodes, which in another translation is just squid. So I got really happy, and I screamed the word out loud and then scared the cat, whose name is Squid.
It kind of sounds like a Mad Libs, right? Where it's like mighty great, pick a noun.
Well, in polypodes, like, it means many legs, fine, but, like, you could just say squid. It's better to know, like, what the modern word is. But anyway, polypodes, many legs. Great many polypodes fast tied, which they cast at the other. And if they once laid hold on the wood, they made the isle sure enough for stirring. They darted and wounded one another with oysters that would fill a wain, and sponges as big as an acre. The leader on one side was called the Ilo Centaurus, which I think kind of just means wind centaur. Or no, sorry, not wind, gold, but it seems similar to wind too, but in any case. And then on the other side is the Thalassopotes, which means sea drinkers. And then, so yeah, they just, like, watch these people fight. The Ilo Centaurs won, and quote, "They erected a trophy for a monument of this island fight, and fastened one of the enemy's islands with a stake upon the head of the whale. That night they lodged close by the beast, casting their cables about him, and anchored near unto him. Their anchors are huge and great, made of glass, but of a wonderful strength. The morrow after, when they had sacrificed upon the top of the whale, and there buried their dead, they sailed away with great triumph and songs of victory. And this was the manner of the island's fight." And I read that last line, that last bit, because there was a note, again, on this Lucian of Samosata project site that notes, this is a quote from the site, "So ended the Battle of the Islands. Lucian is mirroring the language used at the end of the Sicilian expedition in Thucydides. Lucian probably intended for this last section to be a parody of Thucydides." And then it quotes Thucydides, which is, "This was the greatest Hellenic achievement of any in this war, or, in my opinion, in Hellenic history. At once most glorious to the victors and most calamitous to the conquered. They were beaten at all points and all together. That they suffered was great. They were destroyed. All this, and this, as the saying is, with a total destruction. Their fleet, their army, everything was destroyed, and few out of many returned home. Such were the events in Sicily." Do you guys know much about the Sicilian expedition?
No.
I don't know a ton. What I know is that it's famous for being, like, the worst loss on the Athenian side. Like, it is famous how badly they lost during the Sicilian expedition. And then, like, not Aristophanes, Alcibiades, he's, like, tied with it somehow. Michaela would be screaming at me for how I'm telling this bit, but, like, basically it's an enormous failure of Athens during the Peloponnesian War, and, like, just was a really big deal. And so to have him be focusing on that too is, like, an extra dig. It's like Athens' biggest failure.
So everyone would be upset about this anyway, and he's just, like, digging in the knife. I love it.
Well, and it's, like, 500 years later, but he's, like, still focusing on, like, the most famous loss, you know?
They're still seething 500 years later, I mean.
Oh, yeah, like, it was a big deal.
I love this so much. Like, the more you know, the more you're like, wow, Lucian was mean. I love it.
Yes, like, I'm so glad we did it this way, because I feel like I've figured out so much more about what he's doing. Like, I think he's doing some really interesting things. Like, the commentary on colonialism is very clearly there.
Absolutely. Yes, that's, like, loud and clear.
It is. I am in awe. And so, yeah, I'm thrilled we're going to do the second half of this too, and talk about it some more. That was really fun and weird, and also weirdly political in a great way.
In a perfect way. It's like, was Lucian woke for his time?
I think he might have been. It reminds me of, like, how I like to define woke, particularly when people use it in that derogatory way, because it's like, it literally just means caring about other people.
Oh yeah, same. I'm just like, it just means not a complete asshole, but okay, call it woke.
It means I have a fucking heart and empathy, and I, like, are you kidding?
Like, it means having empathy. Fuck off.
I mean, it's always fascinating. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I really loved about being an English major and, like, having a certain understanding of, like, different places in history. Particularly, I grew up very religious. I've said this many times. So I always, like, knew when someone was needling about religion, because I was like, oh, that is a very obscure reference. Let me tell you what that is. So I love seeing this in Lucian. I love also seeing how satirists, like, later on use Lucian. Like, the crab people thing I knew from South Park. Like, that came even down into South Park.
Really? What is the context in South Park?
The crab people are crabs that essentially dress up like people to, like, take over things. They do it a couple times throughout the story, and I'm like, oh, crab people, okay. And they sort of use it as a joke, like whenever they don't know how to end something, they're like, we'll just throw in some crab people. But anyway, I love seeing that thread, and I love seeing it so early. Lucian, we've talked about him in other things before, is just great at his satire, and the more you know about the time period, the more you see what he was trying to talk about during his time without potentially getting killed. And also, it still rings true today, which is in a lot of ways deeply saddening.
This has been so much fun. I'm so glad we got together to do this, you guys. Thank you all for listening.
Next time I bring the wine instead of the water. Next time I get a little tipsy.
Yeah, please join us in our drunkenness.
I also let's warn people, there will probably be a big gap in between this and the second part because I'm going to be moving across the country, but I will be in the same time zone as Jen and Jenny when we record the next half. What a dream. I won't be drinking at 1 p.m.
I'm excited. Yes, we will do the next half. None of us will be sure when that is, but it will happen.
It will. Oh, we can't leave this.
I have to see what befalls our heroes next.
They're going to go to the underworld, guys. Like, it's so good.
Amazing, because certainly Lucian never went to the underworld, let's be clear.
I mean, he did now.
Just like Herodotus went to Egypt.
So we will see you when we get to part 2. Hopefully it'll be this side of 2024 and not into 2025. We can't wait to share it with you. We hope you've enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a departure for spooky season, but it's been fun. And it, again, true horror story. Don't let men come to your island and try and copulate with you.
We just let's get together and drink and talk about something very silly. As we all needed that.
Also, it was an easy and fun way for us to put an episode out. It's spooky adjacent.
It is spooky adjacent. Our autumns have been very busy. We're getting ready for some exciting stuff. There's moves, there's books coming out soon, and secret projects I'm still not allowed to talk about. So moving on, we will see you all when we see you all next.
Bye.
Bye.
No one hates history, they just haven't found the right teacher yet. Or in this case, a nerdy best friend who loves to tell you all about world history, women's history, and weird history. Hi, I'm TK, the creator of For the Love of History podcast, a place for people who want to learn more but don't know where to start, and history lovers who want to break from the mainstream. From rat trials to warrior women, we cover topics from every country and era. Whether you're a history expert or just starting out, there's a place for you here in the Time Machine. So join me every Friday on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube for a brand new topic. See you there. Bye.